Hi guys, it's Lynn here. I hope everyone's keeping really well and safe. Now today's video I'm going to be talking about a few little early spring jobs to do with your cacti and succulents. Now it's springtime and I'm sure a lot of you probably have a bit more time in your hands than you probably normally would have, obviously. And I'm going to be sharing a few little things that I'm going to be doing over the next few days with the cacti and succulents in the polytunnel. So here we go guys. First of all, we'll be checking for the obvious ones, signs of any cacti and succulents that need watering. Now here it's sort of the getting towards sort of middle to late March, and this is a dodgy time of year for us here in Northern Ireland, because the same with the UK as well. It does get still very cold of a night time. We're having a series of really lovely sunny days the past while, but it has been very cold of a night, and that's to show you what cold damage looks like there. So you do have to be careful, because when you start to water the plants a little bit too, not necessarily early, but more to do with the low night temperatures, you can still chance of them sort of getting damaged, so you have to be careful. But what I'm going to be doing, because it is still sort of fairly early and it's very early spring at the moment, I'm only going to be making a note of the ones that are desperate for a good drink. And for that case, in this case, as I say, when it comes to watering your cacti and succulents, if you keep them indoors in a warm house and you've been overwintered them there and they're sort of showing signs of shriveling, you can go ahead now it's sort of mid to late March, no problem going ahead and introducing them back into the watering schedule. But if you have them in a greenhouse or polytunnel like we have here, and although we have the heater that comes on when it drops below 5, it's still coldish, and in this case I'm going to be holding back on watering the majority of my desert cacti anyway, probably for another couple of weeks or so, and see how when the weather starts to get warmer. But what I have got is some that are very desperate for a drink, and if you have cacti that are in small pots or they are very shriveled, then you can go ahead and give them a bit of water now at this time of year. As I say, I'm going to show you some examples. This one here is one of our punchers. It's actually normal for a puncher, the prickly pear, to shrivel back in the winter. That's how they go. So believe it or not, though this is wrinkled, I'm going to probably hold back on watering that just yet for another week or two. But these are my puncher humifusers that have grown from seed, very wrinkled, and as you can see, could do the good drink. So I'm going to give them just a little bit of water, just enough to wet the soil, and that's a good little job to do. So first thing would be, obviously, first thing to do after the winter rest, to check for early spring jobs, is to check and water any that really, for example this one here, needs a good drink. And as I say, because this is our polytunnel and it is kept quite cool, I'm only going to be watering the ones that are very shriveled, as this one here, some of the punchers. I'm going to show you another one as well, that this one is very, very wrinkly here, so that is going to need to be a good bit of water. They're in small pots anyway, so they'll dry out fairly quickly. And also just going to show you some of our crassulas as well. Normally if these were indoors in the house, we'd be giving these a bit of water throughout the winter, but we don't because they're kept in the polytunnel. But that's going to need a good drink. Same here. Pretty obvious they need a good drink. So that's what you need to do, is keep a check on any that are desperate to be watered. And then the second thing is check for signs of buds. Now, because as it's early spring, mid to late March is a good start for many of them coming into buds. And happy to say, these have already been flowering, but these are more the winter flowering, as you know, the Schlumbergeras. This is our big epiphytic cactus, Pegasus, and it is packed. Might not be able to see so much here with the camera, but I'll just show you that it's absolutely packed with buds all over. I mean, this is going to be amazing. Probably be another 3 months before this is all blooming beautiful. This normally flowers sort of in the May-June time. So although it's early, it takes a long time for it to form its buds. So look at that, guys. So very happy. And checking as well for signs of other buds, which we have got here. Also, I'll just show you, yep, the Perodia here, and also one of our other little Perodias, little buds on it as well. And our Astrophytums, there's one on there, another bud there, and these as well coming on. Very exciting to see. And the echinopsises as well, look, you can see buds forming there. So it's great that already we've got buds forming, and really excited about that. So checking for buds, just mainly for the excitement of it. And as I say, if your plants are coming into bud and they're indoors, pretty okay to go ahead and start watering now. But as I say, I'm holding back on the ones, even the ones that have got buds, such as here, just because the nighttime temperatures are still very, very low at the moment. And even at 5 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit, which we keep the heater on at, still a bit low. So they're not going to die if they're not watered, but they will die if they're watered and the temperature suddenly drops. I mean, I've known snow in April and May, so this is only just my climate here. If you live in a nicer, drier climate, certainly, you know, you can certainly go ahead and carry on watering your plants, cacti and succulents now, because it's now springtime. And yep, so that's very, very exciting to see the buds. So check for buds. And the next thing will be as well, spring jobs, is check for signs of any damage from the winter. And this, it's very unusual. Like everybody who grows plants, especially cacti and succulents, nearly always notices some winter damage from the winter, because even if they're kept in the perfect of conditions, the low light temperatures can encourage straggy growth, and you know, the cold, we keep this at a minimum of 5 Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit, our polytunnel, but even we still find, as you can see there, that's cold damage on a puncher. And it does sort of happen. The punchers, the prickly pears, are very cold hardy, but certain types are not, as you can see here. No harm is going to come to this. I mean, we can prune it back anyway, so there's no problem. The rest of the plant's fine. But just to let you know, it's good to keep an eye on any damage. And I'm just going to show you some damage here, one of our epiphyllums. Yeah, this, for example, this is our zigzag. As you can see, that's clearly most likely cold damage, because ideally epiphyllums like a minimum of about 8 Celsius. They seem to do okay in here because we keep them totally dry over the winter. And as I say, they don't shrivel up or anything because they're kept cool. But ideally they do like to be kept above that. Just an example of that there. Not a problem, that can be pruned back, no trouble. It's not going to hurt the plant other than just aesthetic, but it's good to prune back any obvious signs of damage there from the winter. And I've made a video, I'll just show you this, another sign of cold damage on one of our echinocacti. Again, it's going to be okay, but it does scar the plant. And I have made a video on what cold damage looks like on cactus plants after their winter rest, so do check the video out, guys. Links up above, and it'll give you a bit of an idea. If you're not sure what them strange marks are on your cacti and succulents, it can often be down to just the environment through the winter. And if you can get them through the winter, then they pretty much go back into healthy growth again and recover from any damage from the winter time. So just got that lovely aloe flower, by the way, guys. Isn't it gorgeous? So and a few more flowers, totally off topic. So that's it. Check for signs of any damage. Now, the next thing is obviously the one we all hate to do, but you have to do it. Checking for any signs of pests. Now, the winter time, you often find that bugs like mealybug and all the other type of pest, aphids, spider mite, I find don't necessarily a problem in the polytunnel during the winter, mainly because of probably the cooler temperatures and the high humidity we get here in Ireland. But spider mite they love to absolutely hide everywhere in the places you can't see them. I'm happy to say that actually this morning I went through practically all the collection, lifting them up underneath the pots, checking with the little loop, which I'm going to show you here, little magnifying glass, a good tip because they're so hard to see. And from what I can see, I can't see a single mealybug on any of the plants, which is very, very good. And if you do see any signs of pests, then it's important that you treat them straight away. What I like to use is neem oil, horticultural grade neem oil, and I would normally in the summertime, spring or summer, when I'm actively watering the plants, I'll water it into the soil as well because it does them good, and also the plant takes it up into the body, and it's sort of like almost like a nutrition for them. And I've really noticed a massive difference in the amount of pests that I get since I've been using the neem oil, and I recommend that's very good, harmless to humans, harmless to plants, and harmless to wildlife as well, and certainly to bees. So that's great not to have a chemical one. And I'll also link up above to a video on how to use neem oil as a foliar spray and also as a soil drench for your cacti and succulents to get rid of pests, and especially notice a massive improvement in spider mite. Don't seem to have a problem with it, or very rarely now, certainly in the polytunnel since I've been using that. With neem oil you do have to keep using it, so this is, once I get back into the regular watering now with these plants, I'm going to start also doing the neem, and I'll make a video when I give them the first neem oil watering of the year as well, so I'll do that, guys, probably in the next couple of weeks when I start to water these again, all as normal for the spring. So yeah, so I say check with the good little thing to check for pests is these little loops magnifying glasses, because mealybug especially hide in between these woolliness, so these look so like mealybug nests, so it's easy not to see them, and these little loopers are great to magnify. And pick every pot up as you can under the saucers, check everywhere, even check under things like that, because that's where they like to hide, under the trays. And as I say, treat any pests you find ASAP. And then the next thing will be is pruning off any dead leaves, flower heads and shriveled up leaves. As you can see, I started to do this morning, but I stopped to make this video as a bit of a tips on what to do with your cacti and succulents. You can pruning shears, clean pruning shears, and sometimes I use little nail scissors as well, and removing what I've started to do. He's taken off all the dead leaves. This is an old flower stem, so that can be pruned back, prune off any signs of damage as I mentioned earlier. And as I say, things like this need to be pruned back because it's unsightly, and dead leaves, things like that as well, all be pruned back. This as well is all needs pruning back, dead part of the epiphyllum here, and all these as well, easy to take away with the hand, but prune back any with scissors that you need, and pruning shears that any needs coming back. For example, this as well needs a bit of pruning, all this talk, just to tidy up the plants, and this helps them as well. See, if you leave things like this throughout, then this is also perfect where pests can hide underneath dead leaves and flowers. And so not only does it look better when you prune everything back and remove all the dead leaves, but it also helps prevent any bugs from hiding too, and that gives, pruning all the dead flower heads off and everything gives them a nice start for the spring. So there we go, that's pretty obvious, one with the pruning as well. Now, what I like to do at this time, this is the most exciting part, is I like to go through the collection and plan ahead of all the cacti and succulents I'm going to be potting this year. And obviously, because of all what's going on in the world with this damn nuisance that's going on at the moment, as everybody knows, me and Hans were planning on moving house this year because we need more space, definitely a bit of land for our polytunnel and the greenhouse and other things. But with all what's going on, it's just not a good time to move house at the moment, and we're having to put, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are having to put all of your plans that you had for this year completely on hold until all of this goes. So we were actually thinking, we're not going to repot too many plants because the house move is less to have to, don't want to be repotting them and then moving them. That's stressful. But it looks like we could be here for the foreseeable future, certainly for the next while anyway. So I'm going to go ahead with all my plans to repot the ones I wanted to repot. Mainly I just want to change the soil on some of them as well, and I'm going to be doing that. So what's a good idea to do, as I show you here? Make a little note of all the plants that you want to repot this year. As in this case, I put my seedlings, my large Lophophores, my Telecactus bicolor, which is this one here. Where is it? Yeah, that's the seed. It's a bit too top heavy. Needs a new pot, and a few of them I'm going to be repotting on. So it's going to be lots of repotting videos, guys. And these are all my little seedlings here. As you can see, these are Puncher seedlings, going to need a good drink as well. All these cute little seedlings I've got here. These are all going to be potted on into their own little individual pots. My little Mammillarias there. So some Trichocereus seedlings there. Lots of little, my Chrysocactus seedlings. These are all going to be potted up into their own little individual pots. And my two big Lophophores here are just, they don't need repotting as in the size of the pot. I just want to change the soil over and to a better, grittier, drained soil that I'm going to be trying out for these as well. So that's it. Make a list of all your plans for what you want to repot. And the last one is, tidying up the grow area. As I say, sometimes over winter, in the spring and summer, I'm in here every single day, sometimes even during the night, because I just love it in here, working here. But over the winter, we tend to just close the door and only go in just to check the plants and come back out again. But things obviously, plants fall over, things like that. So it's good now it's spring to give everything, I love to give everything a really, really good tidy up. So guys, talking about repotting, I think that agave is going to need a desperate repot very soon. As you can see, leaves fall down there. There's bits on the floor, and I'm a bit of a tidy freak, I have to say. And I love everything orderly and tidy, and all the labels going the right way. I know it's a bit OCD, but that's just the way I am. So I'm going to be giving everything a good old tidy here. Plus, not only that, if you keep all your workspace clean, it also helps prevent fungus and bugs from hiding. You know, bugs love to hide on the dead leaves that fall down the back that you can't necessarily see, and it's just nicer to keep everything all clean and your workspace clean. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's all the spring jobs to do. As I say, I've got my tomato fertilizer there because I'm going to be watering the ones that are desperate to be watered, the ones that are in the smaller pots that are shriveled, and I'm going to be using the good old tomato feed to kick them up into the flowering start there. And I've made many videos on why I like to use tomato. In fact, I probably will do a separate video a little bit more on why I like to use tomato fertilizer, so stay tuned for a video coming up on that probably in the next couple of days or so. But I have made a video on why I liked it, how I use it and everything like that, so do check that out, guys. If the link's not above, it will be, if you just search for it, it'll be on there. And that's it. So guys, want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of plant power from across the Emerald Isle. And if you want to know a bit more on growing cacti and succulents, then do check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com. And also don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. Ding ding. And most importantly, guys, stay safe. And one thing we'll with this isolation, we'll never be bored with our plants. So guys, have a wonderful day, and sending you love as always. Bye.